What a trash to annihilate each decade. You must remember that these words are spoken by a person who has just emerged out of a failed suicide attempt. The suicide attempt failed. That is why she is alive now. To that extent, her life is a success. Had the suicide attempt succeeded, she would have died. She would not be alive now. And in that sense, she would be a failure. This is the basic problem with suicide victims. On the one hand, they want to die. They want to kill themselves. They want to leave this world. On the other, they understand and they admit that suicide is stupid. Suicide is foolish. Suicide is nonsensical. That precisely is what the poet says here. What a trash! Trash means waste, garbage, rubbish, nonsense. To annihilate. Annihilate means destroy completely, obliterate, wipe out. I will annihilate you, my wife told me. To annihilate, to destroy completely, wipe out, obliterate. Each decade is 10 years. You must remember that in the poem the speaker claims that she attempts suicide once every decade, once every 10 years. But in real life, Sylvia Plath used to attempt suicide more frequently, much more frequently than that. What a trash to annihilate each decade. On the one hand, the speaker attempted suicide. On the other, she admits that it is nonsensical to attempt to put an end to one's life. This dilemma, this basic dilemma of the suicide victim is elaborately and beautifully and eloquently discussed in the famous soliloquy in 3-1 of Hamlet. 3-1, yes, 3-1 of Hamlet. 3-1 of William Shakespeare's Hamlet. The soliloquy beginning with the famous words, to be or not to be, that's the question. To be or not to be, to exist or not to exist, to live or to leave this world, that's the question. Returning to the Plath poem, what a million filaments. I don't think that the word filament needs to be interpreted in a very technical manner. Filament can mean just peace in this context. By attempting suicide, the speaker shatters her life, shatters 1 decade of her life into a million little bits, into a million pieces. And the speaker admits that it's absurd to do so. It's nonsensical to do so. The peanut crunching crowd shoves in to see. These lines accurately capture the attitude of the outer world towards the suicide victim. And it is not an attitude of empathy, not even an attitude of sympathy. The peanut crunching crowd, peanut is monkey nut, peanut is groundnut. Crunch means crush with the teeth. The peanut crunching crowd. Where do you find a peanut crunching crowd? At an entertainment. Shoves in, pushes in to see. For the suicide victim, the suicide is a terrible tragedy. But for others, it is entertainment. The peanut crunching crowd shoves in to see. People rush in to see. People push in to see the suicide victim. And they get entertained by it. I'm reminded of the word Schadenfreude. It's a German word borrowed by the English language. Schaden means harm, damage. Freude means joy, happiness. Schadenfreude is the joy experienced by a person while witnessing someone else's misfortune. Schadenfreude is the joy experienced by a person while witnessing someone else's misfortune. The lines that we are trying to explain capture with great exactness, with great accuracy, what is known as Schadenfreude. The speaker declares that she is willing to cooperate with the crowd if that is what the crowd desires. If the crowd wants to see her body, that's fine. She is more than willing to display her body. And she orders that her body should be unwrapped, the bandages should be removed. Perhaps also the clothes should be removed. The speaker is more than willing to perform a striptease in order to satisfy the cravings of the peanut crunching crowd. A striptease is an entertainment in which the performer removes her clothes gradually, one by one, to music, rousing the sexual excitement of the audience. The speaker in the Plath poem is ready to perform a striptease in order to satisfy the cravings of the peanut crunching crowd, if that is what the peanut crunching crowd wants. I'm reminded of the 1996 movie Striptease, directed by Andrew Bergman. But that is by the way. Returning to the Plath poem, Mark Ford says that in these lines, I quote, Plath deploys the language of advertising, mass spectacle, and pornographic self display. Unquote. I think I should repeat the passage. Mark Ford says that in these lines, I quote, Plath deploys the language of advertising, mass spectacle, and pornographic self display. Unquote. I think if we accept the exegesis of Mark Ford, the filaments referred to earlier in the poem can be interpreted as cameras. A million filaments, a million cameras. Perhaps that is a better reading than the reading I gave you. I said filaments meant pieces, but I think filaments can mean cameras because the speaker is performing in front of a crowd and there are a million cameras wanting to record the striptease of the speaker.